Hi, my name is Joanna Whitney. I am an intuitive artist, a student of natural law, and an energy healer. And I'm going to do an addendum to chapters 4 and 5 of the Kybalion. Because the thing is, I just want to make this clear, like, excuse me, although I've been living this way for many years, according to natural law and according to the Hermetic ideas. This is a review for me as well, in light of the chaos that is occurring in society. And so I'm having a new experience with this stuff and going through it again. It's helping me to think about what I've read and have new insights and awarenesses that I want to share in between the chapters. And I mean, my hope is that others who are watching are also meditating now, and increasing their meditation, going deep within the portal, the inner portal, and having a new experience with the outer reality as a result of reflecting upon what we're reading in this book. For me, what is coming to me is that the true reality is within and the distracted reality is without. And, before the chaos of 2020, well, actually, see, the thing to me is things started to deteriorate probably in around 2000, maybe even, community-wise. My community was strong, but it started to really go downhill after 2005 because we had a personality at the center of our community that everyone relied on a lot as the source, which is a very, very wrong thing to do, to have a guru, because eventually that person dies. And then what happens to the community? So we knew this, but we failed to utilize our principles such that there was a division in the power structure. So that person passed away in 2005 and our community began to deteriorate. Individual people started to lose it because they depended too heavily on that one person. And so the people that we thought had access to more power didn't. And so many of us were young in the principles that eventually it all kind of evaporated. And then we had the scamdemic, and those who were left, the majority of them bought into it. And then there were a few stragglers like me who didn't buy into it, but lost the community. And, at that point, I guess for myself, I didn't realize how dependent I actually am as a herd animal. I am an extrovert myself, and I didn't realize how dependent I am on having people of like mind. So, of course, that creates leverage for the powers that should not be to destroy community. And I've been talking to some people about it who are pretty smart and referred me to a book called Bowling Alone. I can't remember the author right now, but you can look that up, or I'll try to remember to put it in the description. And also Radical. Oh God, come on now. I can't remember. I'll put it in the description. 2 books on community. One's old from the 60s and the other one is new. And the bowling alone talks about how this actually started in the 90s, that community started to disintegrate. So what does this have to do with what I'm reading here is just that it makes me reflect differently on how we as a society are mesmerized by outer things. And as a result of being mesmerized by outer things, those who may understand these powers and use them can use them to destroy what we depend on. And so for myself, I want to build a structure within myself that can't be destroyed outwardly again. I don't want to be focused so much outwardly on what's going on in the world of my five senses and have more focus on the inward world so that I can remain strong through whatever comes my way. And, you know, of course, I wish this was taught to me when I was a child, but I believe that this dismantling has been in the works for millennia. And I think for me, these are things that I reflect on throughout, and what I'm using this book and the concepts in this book and the other books that I'm utilizing to sort of have a different point of view on what life is really about. And how, I mean, it's kind of mind-boggling if you really take all this in. To me, it basically means everything that we do in society is absolutely an illusion and baloney. And if only, you know, the powers that be were committed to helping us and everyone to have a good experience here on Earth and be proactive, how great it could be if it was like that. And it might have been like that in other civilizations like Atlantis and Lemuria and at some point, but they're gone. So obviously it didn't last. So, you know, these are things I'm thinking about right now. These are things that I need to think about just to keep me going so that I don't fall prey to the negativity that I experience. And try to keep lighthearted and recognizing that if the all is everything, then there's nothing for me to worry about. But then you just try to put that into practice, you know, in a regular life. And it's difficult, you know, that's to me. And that's why I'm making this interim video. So anyway, I took some notes and had some thoughts. And so I'm going to just go through this a little bit here and see if I can make an interesting addendum to these, or a bridge to the next chapter. So back on page 27 of chapter 4, it says, under and back of the universe of time, space, and change is ever to be found the substantial reality, the fundamental truth, the Kybalion. So that's basically the premise. The fundamental truth and the substantial reality are the all. Behind everything that is manifested, there is the structure of the all, which is unknowable. So then I wrote, the all is spirit and it is unknowable, and I am an imagining of spirit made out of ether, and I am conscious. Everything that is changeable is an emanation of the all, and everything else is the all itself. All I can see with my senses is the changing world, but going within, I can experience the underlying structure, which is unchanging. So, you know, that's basically my saving grace, is to go within and to experience like what I experience when I close my eyes. Some people, I think, see things. I don't really see anything when I close my eyes, except I do see energy. And I have my mind's eye that I can see things in. But with my eyeballs, I actually just I see energy moving behind my eyelids, and I can focus on my breath and breathing and trying to experience. And at some point, I can hear what may be frequencies, energy frequencies, a crackling sound of white noise. That's what I hear. And then I personally try to float in that state. And I try to use the background noise that I hear to help me go deeper rather than to resist that background noise, even if it's like music or whatever of my neighbors. I try to just use that to bring me deeper into the meditation. And the more I do this, you know, the more I have two worlds that I can live in. So the more this inner world is realer than the outer world. Which, you know, I mean, when things are crazy like this, I need that. And you know, when we were going through the initial stages in 2020, when I was losing everybody, I just would go in nature and stare at nature. Like I would stare at trees and watch squirrels and birds and think, wow, they're doing fine. So yeah, that's what I did. So then I also highlighted on page 28, the Hermeticists believe and teach that the all in itself is and must ever be unknowable. So therefore, you know, basically you just have to believe that. I think for me, reading this book, if I'm not just reading this book for entertainment, I'm reading this book because I want some answers. Okay, so if the all is unknowable, then there's no point in my trying to figure it out anymore. It's just, it says in here that if I try to keep trying to figure it out, all I'm going to be like is a squirrel on in a cage running around and around and ending up at the same point. So there's no point. I should be focused on something else rather than trying to dissect what the all is, or trying to figure out the all through dissecting matter. It's just a pointless mistake to bother with that. So there should be something else that I should be focused on. Okay. Okay, and the other thing I want to say, it says, okay, so it on page 29, it goes through these things. Again, I'll just repeat. That which is the fundamental truth, the substantial reality, is beyond true naming, but the wise men call it the all. In its essence, the all is unknowable. And then it says, but the report of reason must be hospitably received and treated with respect. So, you know, I think what this is referring to is the trivium, and I think this is something that people could study and try to integrate into their way that they process information. It's the old way that used to be taught in school. I'd say probably in the 20s and 30s. I'm not really sure when they stopped teaching it. You can look into John Taylor Gatto's Ultimate History Lesson. He was a high school teacher in New York City, and he recognized the replacement of the trivium education system and the quadrivium by the Prussian education system to create followers and workers rather than thinkers. But it seems to me that this whole book, like we could deconstruct this book and find the use of the trivium here and how they're explaining these principles, because the trivium is grammar, logic, and rhetoric. So grammar being like the gathering of all the material and the skeleton of everything brought together. Logic then is the processing of all of the material. Reasoning, using your mind to reason it out. And then rhetoric becomes how you communicate that you find. So we used to use the trivium, and the quadrivium is the seven liberal arts. Let's see if I can name them off: arithmetic, astronomy, geometry. I'm gonna butcher this right now just because I'm not, I can't bring them all to mind, but they're all based on math, mathematical equations. And this is how people used to learn in the old days, before the powers that should not be changed what goes on in school and made it so we don't know how to think anymore. Now we only know how to Google it. But we can relearn the trivium, and then the thing about knowing the trivium is that you become autonomous. You can become autonomous and know how to learn things, meaning that you don't ever have to feel dependent or lost, and you can gain confidence and teach yourself anything using that method. But it's obvious that they're talking about this when they say that, but the report of reason must be hospitably received and treated with respect. Because it says the human reason, whose reports we must accept so long as we think at all, informs us as follows regarding the all, and that without attempting to remove the veil of the unknowable. So this is obviously people using that method. 1, the all must be all that really is. There can be nothing existing outside of the all, else the all would not be the all. 2, the all must be infinite, for there is nothing else to define, confine, bound, limit, or restrict the all. It must be infinite in time or eternal. It must have always continuously existed, for there is nothing else to have created it. And something can never evolve from nothing. And if it had ever not been, even for a moment, it would not be now. It must continuously exist forever, for there is nothing to destroy it, and it can never not be, even for a moment, because something can never become nothing. And then number 3, the all must be immutable or not subject to change in its real nature, for there is nothing to work changes upon it. Wait a minute, sorry. The all must be immutable or not subject to change in its real nature, for there is nothing to work changes upon it, nothing into which it could change, nor from which it could have changed. There should have been a comma there. That's why I flubbed that one. The all is infinite living mind. The illumined call it spirit. So I received some criticism for my last video because it was like the person suggested that I sounded like I'm in fear of what's going on out there. And if that be the case, then I obviously don't believe that the all is the all. And I just wanted to address that. The thing is yeah, absolutely. I go in and out of fear all the time about what's going on. I'm human, and I have to have a vital spiritual experience, which means that I have to renew my spiritual experience on a daily basis. And sometimes I have to renew it many times throughout the day. I do pay attention to things people are talking about in the world on social media and on YouTube for my entertainment or for my mental expansion. And because I live in a city, I don't live in the country, where I can pay attention to the ebb and flow of nature as much as I would like to. And yeah, I definitely succumb to or have moments where I experience a lack of connection to the all. And I then pray when I notice that, I notice a negative thought go through my head or I notice a negative feeling, I pray and ask God to remove it. And then I try to find someone I can be helpful to. That is what I do. But, that's why I'm reviewing this book right now too, and why I'm deepening my practice using other Hermetic materials and expanding my mind, utilizing, and I'm in a trivium class also to review how to use the trivium. And I just wanted to read this story. For some reason, this reading has reminded me of this story that I think is relevant. Okay, so there was once a time when all human beings were gods, and that's a small g, gods. But they so abused their divinity that Brahma, the chief god, decided to take it away from them and hide it where it could never be found. Where to hide their divinity was the question, so Brahma called a council of the gods to help him decide. Let's bury it deep in the earth, said the gods. But Brahma answered, no, that will not do because humans will dig into the earth and find it. Then the gods said, let's sink it in the deepest ocean. But Brahma said, no, not there, for they will learn to dive into the ocean and will find it. Then the gods said, let's take it to the top of the highest mountain and hide it there. But once again, Brahma replied, no, that will not do either, because they will eventually climb every mountain and once again take up their divinity. Then the gods gave up and said, we do not know where to hide it, because it seems that there is no place on earth or in the sea that human beings will not eventually reach. Brahma thought for a long time and then said, here is what we will do. We will hide their divinity deep in the center of their own being, for humans will never think to look there. All the gods agreed that this was the perfect hiding place, and the deed was done. And since that time, humans have been going up and down the earth, digging, diving, climbing, and exploring, searching for something already within themselves. So, this also brings me to another teaching that I was recently exposed to by Marty Leeds. He does a couple of hours on the Kybalion. You could look on his channel. I think it's called, am I going to butcher this too? I'll put it in the description. Gnostic something or other, his website. And he talks about how, well, first of all, it says in the beginning of this book that, see if I can find it right now, that and maybe it's in the introduction, that the principles of truth are 7, and 7 is capitalized. He who knows these understandingly possesses the magic key for which, before those whose touch all the doors of the temple fly open. I just butchered that, but 7. So Marty Leeds talks about how the number 7 is sacred, and we have 7 phalanges, like it's our hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 7 times 2, 7 times 4, 28 phalanges in our hands. So 7. So the secret is 7. And there's 7 principles. But this is very important because what it shows me is that the answer is within me. When I look at my own hands, I can solve all my problems. You know, if you go back to Chinese medicine and acupressure, and meditation, the microcosmic orbit, I can basically solve all of my physical ailments using acupressure and the microcosmic orbit meditation. So, you know, that combined with that story, combined with those 2 chapters, is what I've pretty much come to from observing reality reflected back from the work we've been doing together on these chapters. Until next time.